But it is not easy. This is okay too, but why not just simplify this altogether and say it is still difficult. I just don't like the fact that easy is being stopped by not. I don't know. I liked straightforward, more concise words to be used in my sentences. So altogether you could say, I made a resolution to stop smoking 10 years ago, but it is still difficult. And of course, I have my recommendation as well. Let's take a look at the Korean sentence one more time. 담배 끊겠다고 결심한 지 벌써 10년째지만 참 쉽지 않은 것 같다. And of course, quitting smoking is one of the most difficult things to do. I have a lot of friends who try to, kick their habit of smoking. I have my father who tries to kick his habit. And it's something that takes a lot of endurance, a lot of patience, and I know it's difficult. But this is how I would translate the sentence. It's already been 10 years. 벌써 10년이라는 시간이 지났습니다. Since I first decided to quit smoking. 제가 처음으로 담배를 끊어야겠다고 생각한 시점으로부터 10년이 지났습니다. But it's still not easy. 아직도 쉽지 않습니다. Now I know I use the word difficult to translate the other sentence. Now here I use it's still not easy. Well, the thing is, both mean the same thing essentially. You understand that. One is a negative and another is just a word that just says it's difficult. So it's really up to you. It's your personal choice. But here is my recommendation again. It's already been 10 years since I first decided to quit smoking, but it's still not easy. 아직도 쉽지 않아요. I know. And let's take a look at another sentence. 숙제할 것은 산더미인데 그냥 잠자기로 결심했어요. Projects high as mountains. However, I decided to go to sleeping. Actually, this is how I feel very often in my life. Okay, so I like the fact that you refer to as projects. Projects, right? 숙제, it could be, projects is a little bit more like 과제. But you can use projects as well, but I think you should start out the sentence with you. I have projects, it's a lowercase p. I have projects high as mountains. Now, a project can't be just high as mountains, but it can be stacked up as high as mountains. Stacked up. As high as mountains. Well, multiple mountains is a little too much. Let's just stick with one mountain. I have projects stacked up as high as a mountain. However, comma, I decide to go to sleeping. Well, you decided probably in the past, so I recommend a D. I decided to go to sleep. Let's just do sleep. Sleeping is an act of sleep, right? So my recommendation again looks something like I have projects stacked up as high as a mountain. However, I decided to go to sleep. Just one last thing before we go on to my recommendation. Stacked is spelled S-T-A-C-K-E-D. Now stack, and then of course ED is the past tense. So I hope you were able to catch that on and follow along. And we're ready for my recommendation, but let's look at the Korean sentence once more. 숙제할 것은 산더미인데 그냥 잠자기로 결심했어요. Actually, this was a huge dilemma back in high school for me because I liked, reading. I had so many things I wanted to do, and I also had schoolwork, but I sleep like a bear sometimes. I almost hibernate. So I had difficulty balancing it out back in high school. But here is what I have to recommend. I have a ridiculous amount of assignments just waiting to be completed, but I decided I'm going to bed. This is not a really good recommendation, as in the act itself. But looking at a grammatical structure, it's a solid sentence, right? I have a ridiculous amount of assignments. 정말 말도 안 되는 양의 숙제가 기다리고 있는데요. 또는 과제가 기다리고 있는데요. I decided I'm going to bed. 그래도 난 잘 거야. 이런 뜻이죠. 전 자러 가기로 결정을 했습니다. One more time. I have a ridiculous amount of assignments just waiting to be completed, but I decided I'm going to bed. Okay, let's take a look at our final sentence. 다시 한번 결심하는데 다시 결혼을 한다면 절대 코 안 고는 남자랑 해야겠다. These are hilarious. This is what you said. I decide one more time. I get married again. I do it with no nose noise making guy. That is golly hard to pronounce. But I like that you started with I decide. Now, 다시 한번 결심하는데. She looks pretty angry, right? And she's pretty determined that she's never going to marry a guy who snores again, right? So I think you could say something like, I swear. 맹세하는데. I mean, you could say I'm determined, I promise myself, but it's just another expression. I swear, no comma, if I get married again, I will do it with no noise-making guy. That's so odd. I've never heard such a thing in my life. But instead, you could say, a guy who doesn't snore. 코를 고는 사람은 a guy or